are live, and hello everybody. This is Two Legs. This is the live edition. This is midweek, midday Maca break, I guess, if you want to call it that. And it's Wednesday. It's what do we got? We got 2:30 Eastern time. And I'm Tom Hunyadi, and as you can see, I've got a very special guest. And let me know in the comment section who is here, and we're going to get this party started here in a few minutes. But first, let's introduce our guest, and he is the author, right? Of this beauty, Dark Horse Records, the story of George Harrison's post Beatles record label. He is Aaron Badgley. Hello, my friend. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you too. It's always far too long between visits.
Yeah, and I tell you, it's when we met up, what did we meet? Early in February for the first
Yeah.
time. And we talked about a lot of things that we had in common, and meeting you and your lovely wife, and just seeing the success of your book and all your panels that you were doing at the fest. I'm just really happy for you,
Oh, thank
and
you.
and how well the book has done.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm always following your. I mean, you're always popular. So sometimes
Well,
I
that's
just ride your
debatable.
I just ride your coattails. No, congratulations on
Well,
all the stuff you're doing too,
yeah.
man. Your Two
Yeah,
Legs is
thank you.
great, and you
Thank you.
know
Appreciate that. Thank you.
appreciate. Yeah.
And we got Susan here. How you doing, Susan?
Hi, Susan.
Good to see you. And Susan's one of our longtime listeners, followers, watchers, however you want
Oh,
to say it. So it's great to see her. And we'll wait until a few more people show up. But Aaron, what have you been doing lately? I mean, the book's been out now for what, a year or so?
it'll be out a year in January. Yeah. So
You're in
I'm
January, so
I'm working on two new books. I'm trying. Um,
right. Well, we'll get to that in a little bit, but you don't have to spill the beans just yet.
my wife says I'm very trying.
Yeah, very very good.
Thank you.
I like that. Yeah, but so you self-published, right?
No, no, no,
The
no,
dark.
no. I was
No,
not.
this
No,
was this.
no,
Okay,
no.
this was a publisher,
It's
right?
yeah, it's a British publisher called Sonic Bound,
Okay.
and
Yep.
actually they just signed a deal with a German publisher to kind of have everything translated
Yeah.
into German. So that's cool.
Okay. All right. So we got a question here from our buddy Uncle Paul. How you doing, Uncle Paul? This is hi
Hi,
Tom
Uncle Paul.
Aaron. And hey, there she is back there. Everybody. um he says got my two white vinyl Hard Day's Night
Ah,
LP today. Now did you partake in that release?
well, I'm lucky. My daughter works at HMV in Dublin, so she got me a copy.
Okay.
Yes, so I'll get
Oh,
it when I
excellent.
see her at Christmas. Yeah, I got one.
Excellent.
Did
That's
you get one?
awesome.
Did you get one?
I passed. I passed on this one.
No, I couldn't pass. I'm in too deep.
Oh, I see there. Genesis fan, maybe, huh?
Ooh. Hey, Mike.
uh,
Hi, Uncle
and we
Paul.
got
Hi, Mike.
yes, we got Mike here. Mike's another great follower of our show. So it's good to see you, Mike. But okay, let's just get to the history of it. I mean, let's talk about Dark Horse Rushers and your introduction to the Dark Horse label.
Well, you know what? I mean, I was introduced to. I think I told the story, but I'll tell it again because it's funny. Because when I was about 10, 11, I made a proclamation: I'm going to buy every Beatle record. And my mother, trying to do reverse psychology on me, said,
Right.
"Well, that means you have to get everything they played on. I mean, go they get everything bought on Apple Records." And then that just so happened
Right.
at the same time that she was lecturing me, I was with my brother and we found this album on Dark Horse Records called Splinter. The album was
Mhm.
called Place I Love by Splinter. And George Harrison was all over it. So he bought it for me for $1 in the bargain bins back in the
Oh,
old days. And that
yeah.
started my love of Dark Horse Records. And I just started collecting Dark Horse as they came out and followed the label best I could. But I mean, back then we didn't have the internet and stuff. So I had to rely on, I used to get a magazine,
What?
Strawberry
What?
Fields
Wait a minute.
Forever.
Internet wasn't around back then,
I had to get up and turn the channel on the TV set too.
right? You too, huh?
Yeah,
Uh,
I was the youngest of five. And
yeah.
so, you had to wait till, you remember Strawberry Fields Forever, Joe Pope? That was a great magazine. Or are you too young
Yeah.
for
I
that?
did. I did. Yeah, I was probably a little too young. Yeah.
Ah, I feel so old. So,
Yeah.
he would always talk about Beatle news and say, "Oh, Dark Horse has released this album," and then I would go and look for it. And it was hard though. I lived in a small town near Toronto, so we didn't get a lot of. On, if it wasn't in the top 50, we didn't get it in record stores. So,
Okay.
but then
Gotcha.
you know, oh, Susan passed on a hard day's. She couldn't pass on a hard day's
She
night.
could. She couldn't
See,
pass.
I'm with you,
Yeah.
Susan. I couldn't. I was gonna
Right.
pass, but I thought, no way, man, I'm not passing. So that's my
Right.
my beginning of love and Dark Horse. And then once George started recording on Dark Horse and releasing his records, that
Right.
was like, yoo-hoo.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get you. And just so everybody's that's watching, we're not just going to talk about that. We're talking about collecting. We're going to talk about the other three as well. So if you have any questions regarding anything Beatles related or comments, please, please bring them forward, and we'll
I
get
have
to
to
them. But go
say,
ahead.
Tom, I have to say, I got the
Yeah.
last Pete Best single I was missing, which was the
Oh,
first single
really?
he released on Decca. I finally got a copy. I was very happy. So I got a complete Pete
Nice.
Best collection.
Oh, wow.
I do live.
How many
Hi,
people can
Doc.
say
Yeah,
that? Yeah. Hey, Doc.
yeah, Doc. Hi, Doc. I lived in a town called Whitby near Tirana,
Tirana. Okay, cool.
or
So
Toronto.
we're not far. We're not far. I mean, I'm just a bridge away, I guess.
Yeah, there's no
And
excuse for we need to get together in the summertime
yeah,
or
yeah. I think that's
whatever.
yeah. I think that's a great idea. Great
I
idea.
do
So
too.
then, yeah. I mean, but you were following all four camps at that point in
Oh,
time, right?
I still do. I
Well,
still
I
do.
should
Yeah,
say
yeah, yeah.
five though, right? Beatles and solo, right?
Well, yeah, and and it was hard because like Ringo, for example, in the States, you guys got Heart on My Sleeve as a single from the
Hmm.
Bad Boy album, and that never came out in
Right.
Canada. So
Ah.
I had to write to Portrait Records and say, look,
Right.
I live in Canada, we can't get the single, and they sent me a free copy, which was very nice.
Back in the days where people would write letters and put
With
them in an
stamps.
envelope, right? It was a stamp, and penmanship was real important at
Yeah,
one
yeah,
point in time
it
in
was
this
indeed,
country's
yeah.
history.
And
Or yeah, go ahead.
well, no. I was just gonna say, and I had to learn how zip codes worked because we didn't have
Oh
postal
yeah,
codes here yet. So zip codes were a
okay,
big thing. It's like, wow, they got a zip code. Anyways,
that's great. That's great. So big release coming this year. Living in the Material World, what 50th anniversary. Uh, you fan of
51.
that album? Oh yeah, 51. Yeah, thank you. You a fan of that album? I mean,
I,
what's
I
your take on that particular album?
I'm going to be controversial. I prefer
Please.
that album to All Things Must Pass. I love the album.
Wow.
I love
Well,
All Things Must Pass. I love the album, but I really love Living in the Material World. I always have. Maybe because I was old enough to appreciate it when it came out. I was a bit after All Things Must Pass, but I love
right.
Living in the Material World. Great album.
Right. Well, maybe you can help Susan here. I'm still hoping to find the Canadian tuba heavy Rack My Brain 45 someday.
Yeah, you
And
know what, Susan? I promise you, I'll keep an eye out for you because they pop up here in stores once every blue moon. But I will look for you.
oh, you're not going to
But
send her your copy?
I might have two. I have to look. I may have
I'm just
two. If
teasing.
I do, I know you are. But no, I love. What do you think of Living in the Material World? I think it's a brilliant album. I really do.
I yeah, you know what? When I first discovered that album back in the well, pretty much I really started listening to that album like right yeah, when he died. So that's kind of like an album I kind of skipped over, besides the hit song, obviously. But when he died, I picked it up, and I think maybe I just wasn't ready for that album, especially with all the the spirituality of it, and but there were some songs I loved on that album. I love "Sue Me, Sue You Blues." I love "Don't Let Me Wait Too Long." The title track I think is very interesting. And but other than that, I mean, songs like "Be Here Now." I mean, I just now finally over the last couple years really really appreciate that song now, and I love it. I think it's a fantastic song. But I am really looking forward to that the re-release here. Hi guys, hey Dino, our good friend Dino. Hi Dino, guys from across the pond. As a young child, I remember hearing Splinters across the
Yeah.
Pine Town. Is that the name on the radio? A lot of their album Place I Love is fabulous.
Yeah, The Place I
So
Love is a
who?
great album. I agree. But
Okay.
it's
Uh,
it's
Go
funny,
ahead.
Tom. Tom, it's funny because you mentioned "Don't Let Me Wait Too Long." That was supposed to have been the second single off the album,
Yes. Yeah.
and
Right.
I to this day I swear if they had put that out as a second single, I think the album would have done much better and still be like it. I think they sold it short by just putting one single out. But that's just me. But Don't Let Me Wait Too Long. By the way, he offered Don't Let Me Wait Too Long to Splinter for their third album, and they
Mm,
didn't want to record it, which I think they
no
would have done a
kidding.
good job. Yeah, I think they would have
Huh.
done a great job with it. But
Yeah. I agree with about Don't Let Me to Wait Too Long. I mean, if anything, not number one, but at least a top 20. I can see for that song for George. But then again, I mean, that was a really weird time for George and John because they were really only getting one, one. They were really putting out one single. Well, I think that was just one album for George, really, one single. John had like songs or three albums in a row where there was only one single, right? You had
Imagine
Mother,
Sometime, yeah,
yeah, yeah, sometime, and even Mind, four in a row,
four
yeah,
albums, yeah.
right. There was only one single. That's really, really odd.
Mind you, with
Especially for
wasn't
John.
yeah, but Walls and Bridges he did too, right?
Right, yeah. Walls and Bridges finally had two, and I think there was two for Rock and Roll as well.
Uh, it's weird. Rock
Bebopalula, I think.
that didn't come
Yeah,
out
you
as a
Stand
single.
by
It
Me.
was a promo copy, but it came out in other
Mm,
countries as a single. Like I have a
yes,
yeah
yes, yes.
Mexican single of that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. Yep.
Susan, so to answer your question, you have to look at the
Yeah.
matrix number in the label. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
the label and the matrix number is the only way you can identify which is the tuba heavy versus the non-tuba heavy. And I don't have it
Right.
in front of me right now, but if I did, I'd tell you the difference. But it's in the matrix, as everything
Okay.
is in the
Very
matrix.
right. When Ken says that living in the material world is his number one, he is including the Beatles. Yeah. So Ken Michaels, his favorite album from anybody is "Living in the Material World." It is his absolute favorite album. And then obviously you high. I mean, is it your favorite album of his, or is there others that you place above it?
Again, 33 and a third is my probably my favorite Harrison album.
Right.
Because I thought it was a real return to form for him. I love Extra Texture, by the way, but Extra Texture was a wee bit depressing at times.
Hmm.
But 33 and a third, and I love Somewhere in England, which seems to be, I just discovered, I keep reading people saying, oh, they can't stand the album. I'm thinking, why? It's a
Right.
great album. I love Somewhere in England. But I don't know if there's any Harrison albums that I can honestly say I dislike. I mean, I admittedly I don't put on electronic sound every day to listen to, but I really love living in the material world. I love them. I was going to say Abbey Road. That's not Harrison. All things
Right.
must pass. But you know what? I to your point, like I listened to all things or Material World when it came out, and I remember as a kid just really digging the whole album and even the spiritual stuff. I didn't maybe understand it as much as I do now, but
Right.
it and I love the inner sleeve, the not the inner sleeve, the gatefold and the picture and
Oh
everything. It's just
yeah.
it's a
Right.
perfect album that way. It's great, and yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the box set. I've pre-ordered it. Got the one with the
Yep.
45, and
Yep.
just can't wait.
Oh yeah, I'm really looking forward to it with especially with the 45 of Sunshine Life for me. That's exclusive to the box set. So
Yeah, now my
that'll be
my
a
wife mistakenly thinks that this is going to be a Christmas gift. It's not a Christmas gift. I'm not waiting till Christmas to listen to this.
Mm. That's so funny because past relationships too. It's just like, you know what? They know not to bother, getting those things for me for Christmas because they know I'm going to be getting them, no matter what.
Yeah,
Anyways,
exactly.
but Susan says thank you, and she says I'm getting the Material World SDE, but certainly isn't my favorite of George's. Okay, that's
That's
fair.
cool. Yeah,
That's
that's
fair.
very fair.
Okay,
That's very fair.
let's let's move on to Ringo. Ringo's solo
Did you
career.
get tickets for the Ryman show?
No, Ken Michaels did,
I know he
and
did. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So I'm happy for him. I mean, I think he said that was his first time going to Nashville.
Well, that would have been mine too if
So
I got tickets. But
yeah, no, it's really cool. I've been there once, and it was a Sunday, so it wasn't as hopping as because all the businesses were down and stuff like that. But It was a really cool location. Went to a few country museums and stuff like that. So, nice little place. And but Ringo, we were talking before we went live,
Yeah.
just like the later '70s stuff, that the stuff that kind of gets crapped on a little bit. We had that thing on Talk More Talk, Another Listen, and we went back and re-listened to all of those albums, and I will say personally to myself, um, that those albums may not be as bad as what you remember if you say, let's say you did listen to them 30 or 40 years ago.
I have such fond memories of Rotogravure. I got that as a Christmas gift from my mom in '76, and I loved the
Right,
album then. I love the album now. And I just was listening to Bad Boy maybe 5 days ago, and the organ, the Hammond organ on Old Timer 11 is
right,
absolutely brilliant. Like, I'm not saying the albums are as a whole all amazing because they're not, but they're not.
right.
They're not as. And people say, "Oh, there's nothing good on Ringo the Fourth." That's not true. There's some really good material, and Ringo the Fourth allowed Ringo for the first time to write almost every track on the album with Vinnie
Yeah,
Poncia. But
Vinny, yep.
good old Vinnie, I would love to talk to Mr. Poncia. Please, Vinnie, if you're listening, give me
Oh,
a call.
yeah, he worked with another drummer, Peter Chris of Kiss,
That's right.
there
Yeah.
on his solo album, and
Yeah.
Dynasty, I believe it was. Yeah,
He did. He co-wrote a lot of stuff on Dynasty, and
yeah,
I
yeah.
just I think that Ringo gets a bit of a raw deal to this day. I mean, even his most recent albums, 2012, and you know, What's My Name
Postcards.
and Postcard. I
Yeah,
love those albums. I think
yeah.
they're brilliant, and no, those albums are very strong. Even his '90s stuff with Mark Hudson were very
Mark
good too.
Hudson, right, right.
So
I mean, but Uh, yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, even though I don't love, as much as, let's say, the Ringo album, or I love Buku's the Blues. I'm really looking forward to his
me
new
too.
album, Look Up. But you know, I think those Mark Hudson years were very successful for Ringo. But then after that, I mean, it for me, and I know others too. I mean, they were kind of like samey. A lot of
Oh
the
yeah,
same stuff. It felt the music felt the same. It didn't feel like there was a lot of, I don't want to say creativity, but a lot of like different, hooks, or a lot of the same musicians. That's why I really like Crooked Boy, because it's just, for me, it's different than what he's been doing. Let's say, like, since he left Mark Hudson. You
and
know,
Susan, I agree with you. I mean, it
yeah,
has been, but it's most of his. But you know what, Tom? To your point, if you listen to Egypt Station, I'm switching Beatles here, but Egypt Station is very
right,
different than New, and
yes,
New is very
yes,
different from Chaos and Creation. And
right,
there's and Memory Almost Full. I mean, those albums are you hear a track, you go, that's from Memory Almost Full. That's from New. That's from Egypt
yeah,
Station. That's McCartney 3. So I agree with you. There was the same Crooked Boy stands out, and I think the new one stands out. T-Bone Burnett is a
yes,
brilliant producer
yeah,
and a brilliant
oh
writer,
yes,
and
oh yes,
I think it's smart that Ringo's teamed up with him. I really do. I
yeah,
think it's going to be.
yeah,
I love Buku Blues. I think it's again one of
yeah,
those albums that has grown, has found new fans over time. Same with Sentimental Journey, which was always a Badgley favorite. My mother loved that album, and so did my dad. So
right.
I grew up with Ringo. Not be best, but Ringo.
And you brought up McCartney 3, so I thought I'd just, bring this.
Okay, why would you do that? I gotta go. There's someone at the door. But just a minute, I'll be right there. Listen, Tom,
Right
nice
there.
to see you.
Listen, I didn't even know that this was going to exist, right? I mean, because
Just put it down.
this, yeah, and I don't know, Susan, did you get the one with the dots on the side of the album for McCartney 3? Let me know, because all the other ones, yeah, they just
The,
had the
the
lines.
lines. I know. Believe me,
Right.
I know. What color vinyl is that?
This is the black
Black
vinyl
one.
from,
Yeah.
and that, yeah, and that's what I ordered from Amazon.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I don't know too many other people that have. So who knows how many they made with the
Yeah.
dots on the side there. So yeah, you know. Dark Horse is a very interesting label, right? It
No, I know. I
get
mean,
back to the book.
oh, listen, McCartney
Yeah.
3, the day that album came
Mm,
out or was announced,
mm.
was like one of the
Right.
most stressful things because
Oh,
I couldn't get some of the stuff in Canada, and my daughter at the time was living in New York City, and so
right.
she was texting me going, "I ordered this one, Dad. Don't order this one." I'm like, "Okay, then I'll order this one." So it was a very
Right.
stressful time, and of course, I never got the one. Was it the 333 one? You know
The
the
the one from here, why Jack Black's label,
That's
why
right.
am I
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Third,
third
third.
man.
Did you get that one?
When I woke up at 6 a.m. that morning, and
Me
it was
too.
already sold. It
Me
was
too.
already sold out. But again, but this was 6 a.m. This was 6 a.m. in Arizona, so I was 2 hours back at the time,
So you're
and
yeah,
yeah, so it was already sold out, and I didn't know they were going to do this. It wasn't
uh,
until I woke up that I realized that it was offered and had already sold out. So
yeah.
and the prices people were trying to get on eBay were I mean, I've got one on my watch list now. Somebody's trying to sell it for $1,400, and that's about as low as a price that I've seen for it so far. So maybe one day I'll pull the trigger, but that's the only one I need from that
Yeah.
original release because thanks to your kindness, I was able to purchase the Coke bottle from Spotify.
I'm missing
So
two.
thank you.
One with three dollars.
Okay. Uh,
One with three dots, and the third man.
oh, Susan Tom mean left alone early about the
Oh,
three
thank
dot
you,
dish
Doc.
syndrome.
Thank you, Doc. I
Yeah,
agree. Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you.
Oh, so Susan did hear about the early about the three dots edition from Amazon. Ordered one, and that's what they sent. I was lucky. Okay, yeah, I
Okay.
had
So,
no idea.
and Susan, we were just getting
Yeah,
along. We were
just
connecting. We were connecting, and now this.
we bonded
We
very
bonded
briefly,
on
but we
briefly, but it's gone. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well, it wasn't.
I
I
want to yeah. Go
wasn't
ahead.
here. Let me tell you, Amazon here
Yeah,
didn't send
right.
the three dot one. I'm telling
Yeah.
just for the record. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the Dark Horse label.
Mhm.
Interesting path that it started with. A little hiccup with A&M and then to into Warner Brothers. Um, we listen. We know. I know you've talked extensively about George Harrison, 1974, dealing with so much. I mean, he's doing his own album. He's doing a Splinter album. He's getting ready for
Did
a
Ravi? He
tour. He's
did Ravi's
yeah,
album?
Ravi, and then getting a label started, and and his marriage is falling apart. So much of '74 is just a whirlwind. For I'm sure it's a year he'd probably like to forget. And and then with the then with the hoarseness of the vocals. But out of it, it came. I mean, I don't know. Would you consider Dark Horse label a success, or would you consider it a failure?
I think it's a success, and here's my rationale. Because although it didn't last as long as one would hope, it was a really diverse label, and he introduced a lot of acts to the world. I mean, you could argue that he really kickstarted David Foster's career for better or for worse. I
Yeah.
mean, he David Foster talks about it in his book. I mean, he was
Yes.
in
Yeah.
he was in Attitudes, and all of a sudden he's becomes an in-demand session player. I think it was a success in that he really stuck to his guns as to what he wanted to do. He kept it small. He signed people that meant something to him one way or the other. And although they didn't have the record sales that one would hope, it wasn't that bad. And sometimes we forget things like the stair steps from me to you, from us to you.
Mm,
Single made the top 10 on the R&B charts, which was their highest
mm,
placing on the R&B charts in the entire stair steps career. So that's a big success. And he Kenny Burke kickstarted his career with them, and
right.
I don't know. I think that what happened was that A&M really wanted a solo Beatle, and
Okay.
he wasn't on the label at the time. So A&M kind of left the promo to Dark Horse, and Dark Horse. I mean, I spoke to Derek Green, who was hired by Dark Horse from A&M, and he said it was a hard label to sell records, And George, bless his heart, he really thought he'd say, I don't know why this isn't a big song, Derek. Well, there's a lot of reasons, but on the other hand, and we've talked about this. If you listen to something by Jiva, for example, it should have been huge because it's the
Mm,
style of music. It's well produced. I mean, you got Gary Wright on it, and it should have been bigger than it was. They opened for Fleetwood Mac. I mean, that was
right.
huge. But it just for numerous reasons, it just didn't get off the ground. How many artists were on the Dark Horse label? That's a good question, Mike. So there was, besides Harrison, there was Jiva, Ravi, Splinter, Stair Steps, Attitudes. That's five. Henry McCulloch, six. Kenny Burke, seven. So seven, I guess. Am I missing anyone? Let me just look my
Mm,
discography. I think that's
yeah,
it. But I mean, so there weren't that many artists. There was one, one, two, three, four, yeah, seven artists. Now, of course,
okay.
they've got Billy Idol and
Right, right. Steve Perry, they just signed, right?
Steve Perry Christmas
Yeah.
album. Yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of came out of the blue. And
Yeah. Hey,
Cat
Joe.
Stevens. Hey,
Joe.
Joe, how you doing?
Have you been with? Have you seen Joe Wisby before? He does the wonderful. Have you've
Yes,
done his show, right?
absolutely. That's what I say. Hey,
Yes.
Joe, how you doing,
Yes.
man?
Yeah. Joe
Joe's
is
great.
fantastic. Yeah. Joe is fantastic. But there's another story like that too, where a studio will kind of help out the artists and to attract them, right? Because Warner Brothers was there for a while. They were hoping to get signed McCartney. So to kind of like an incentive, they worked in to get they signed his brother McGear to release the McGear album.
And Denny
Um,
Lane. They put out Ah Lane
yes,
on
and then
Reprise.
Alain,
Yeah.
right, right. So that's like not the only case where as a record studio tried to assist a Beatle in order to maybe assign a Beatle.
I think you have to go back in time. 74, the Beatles had only been apart for 4 years. They were still
Hmm.
in 1973. George, Paul, Ringo all had number one singles. George and
Right,
Paul had number one albums. The Red and the Blue albums were number ones. They were huge
right.
still. And Susan, to answer your question, there are new artists on Dark Horse now. So Joe Strummer's estate
Joe
has signed.
Strummer, yeah.
Cat Stevens, John Lord
Leon,
from Leon Russell,
yeah.
Steve Perry, Billy Idol, and a couple of like even I can't think of her name, the jazz singer Nina Simone is on
Nina
Dark Horse.
Simone, yes, right.
So there's
Yeah, so about
a
six or
lot of
seven.
yeah,
Yeah,
and Danny's put out
gotcha.
a couple of things on Dark Horse too. So there's some stuff going on there. But you're right, Tom. They're recording the Beatles. They were always courting the Beatles. In fact, it's funny because I'm researching a new book right now, and I found an article from '74 in Billboard, and it's like,
Mm.
we're so happy to be financing Ringo's Ringo Records label. Well, that was Polydor, and that was a way to get him to sign to Polydor
Except Polydor,
in UK and
right?
everywhere except America and Canada, actually, because he was only
Right.
in North America was he on United Atlantic. But that was a way of getting. And that was 2 years before his Apple deal was done. He had signed with Polydor for Ringo Records,
Mm.
which had a shorter shelf life than Dark Horse. And by the way, I'm
Yes,
proud to
right.
say I have every Ringo record. So happy.
Now there was only what? Correct me if I'm wrong. There was what one single released on Ringo Records in America,
No,
or no,
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 two in America.
two in America. You're right,
David Henschel,
right,
Bobby
right.
Keys.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
technically Colonel Boogie, but that came out on ABC Records. But that was a
Okay,
Ringo record.
right.
In England, he had Suzanne Stormer. Um,
Mm,
See, this is what happens when you get 60, you
right.
can't remember everything. But he had a number of artists in the UK. Stormer was great. I
Mm,
don't know why Stormer didn't break. And Rab Noakes was fantastic. He actually reissued an Apple album, The Whale.
mm,
Off,
okay.
it was on Apple. He changed the cover, put it out on Ringo Records in England, well, Europe. So yeah, Graham Bonnet actually had a number one single on Ringo Records
Mm.
in Australia, of all places.
In Australia, right?
Australia.
Wow. So it did see some success, but in other
Um,
countries,
yeah, not
yeah.
not not over here. Although, have you heard the David Henschel album?
No, no.
You know what? As a Genesis fan, Phil Collins plays drums on it.
I'll have to. What year was that?
75, 74, 75.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll have to take a look into that.
And Ringo does a little finger snaps on one song. So
Right. Um. let's take a break from this. But anyways, if you're new, if you're just we're gonna do like the radio, right? If you're new, if you're just listening, the book is Dark Horse Records. It's a story of George Harrison's post Beatle record label. There you go. But let's talk about just collecting in general. Let's talk about your style. I mean, how do you? I mean, do you have? Are you like me? Do you have like a do you have like a list of what you have and then and what you still need to get, and how do you find things, and are you doing eBay, are you going out in the world and and going to record stores? Talk about your style of collecting these days.
Well, I'm lucky that I have two daughters. One lives in Dublin and one lives in LA. So when I visit them, I go to all the used record shops I can find. Dublin has great record shops. I've found the coolest things. Like I was always looking for McCartney and Lennon. Well, actually, any solo Beatles Irish pressings
Hmm.
because they're different. The McCartney label for "Silly Love Songs" is on Apple, and they actually have it reversed with
Hmm.
"Cook at the House" on the front with the full Apple.
Okay.
So, but my style is I have a list of what I'm looking for, and I use Discogs. I just actually bought something on Discogs today. I picked up that 12-inch promo. Nobody told me because it's actually different than the Canadian one,
Okay.
so I had to get that.
Okay.
And I collect British, U.S., Canada pressings, and if the sleeves are very different, like I got a lot of Japanese and some European
Right.
stuff. Now you go into the whole different sleeves
Yeah.
for right? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there obviously there's so many singles from all over the world, but I strictly stick with the picture sleeves. Whether there's an actual picture on there or if there's just writing on the actual sleeve. So there is one from Yugoslavia from that I found on eBay that I will be picking up real soon, as long as nobody buys it before me.
which one is it? Let me just go quickly go.
Yeah, right.
Oh wait,
But
I
no,
got
I
it.
don't care.
I'll
Yeah.
be right
But anyway,
back.
yeah, I'll be right back. Yeah. But it's Helen Wheels from Yugoslavia. It's it's one of two singles from Yugoslavia that I still need that actually came with the picture sleeve. The other being the Band on the Run single. So yeah, I mean those are so yeah, it's just like I have my
Yeah,
list
me
too
too.
of of 45s that I'm still with picture sleeves that I'm still looking for. And I'm not checking eBay every day now because because the singles collection is starting to slow down a little bit because I've almost got just about you know I'm pretty happy where I am at with the singles collection. Um, but I also try to find pressings from other countries too. Like I have a off the ground pressing from South America.
Cool.
And I look for other cool labels as well. I'm now getting into other albums that Paul is on. Like the I'm forgetting the name of the guy. He did that song on "Crazy About Your Abracadabra" back in the early 2000s. Susan, let
Oh,
me know what the
Ian
Ian
Dury.
Dury. Yes,
Yeah,
thank you. Yeah, so
Ian Dury.
I got my eye on that LP.
It's a good album.
So yeah, yeah, yeah. I have it on CD, so now I'm just looking to get it on LP
Vinyl.
now. So yeah, yeah. So so that's where I'm kind of at right now. And I'm pretty much just now sticking to Paul because that rabbit hole is just so damn deep that I find myself just it's hard to dig out because once you get a certain amount of one thing, then you get interested into another thing and you just start going down that hole, and it just never ends, unfortunately.
It doesn't end, and I mean that's maybe part
Yeah.
of the attraction. It's the
Yeah.
quest. And it's also the
Right.
I've been looking for years and years and years for. And by the way, hi Tony, nice to see you again.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Tony's
I don't
here.
know what YT stands for, but the David Hench was on one is on YT. I don't know what that
Oh,
is. I'm
YouTube.
sorry.
YouTube.
Oh, is it? Oh,
YouTube. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
youngins, you
Yeah.
youngins.
Yeah.
Uh, but I've been looking for an affordable copy of the Beatles Christmas album from England because I got the
Mm,
American one, but I don't have the British one. I finally got it, and that's after what 50
right.
years of looking, 45 years
Right.
of looking. And it's a
Wow.
thrill to get it.
Wow.
It's like, oh, I finally
Right.
got this and hold it in my grubby little hands. Like I would love to find Two Virgins mono from the UK. I know I never will. Not that I could
Mm,
afford, but
right,
although
right.
I'm curious as to what the mono mix sounds like. Um, but yeah, it is a rabbit hole, and it gets deeper and deeper every year. And
Hmm.
I have to say, more expensive. I was a bit shocked with the Mind Games, the cost of the box set, and then they put out the
Right,
meditation album, and then they put out that whole. I don't
right.
even know what the hell it is. It's that kind of that player. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, the speaker or player,
Yeah,
whatever it is.
I
Yeah,
have no
yeah.
idea what that is.
I
'Cause
saw
I'm
the picture of it and I was just like, pass, move along. See, and that's the thing with me, it's just like if I see something I'm not interested in, I just go on with my day. I just find it upsetting when I see people just, bitch about it. I mean, oh, $1,000. I mean, just
don't
look at it.
if you
If you
don't
don't
want it,
want it, just move on.
I'm with you.
You
Like I
know,
see people say, "Oh, there's another color." Well, you don't have. No one's putting a gun to your head.
yeah,
I
right,
didn't see a law passed that said you. I choose to buy them. Like I bought the
right,
Harrison one from his website, and the other
right.
colored vinyl. I think it's Barnes and Noble. I could be wrong,
Well,
but
he has the
it's
Barnes and Noble orange, and then Amazon has a clear, which
eh,
is the one I got. But I still want, but the Harrison one on online is purple, and I'm like, I have to get that
I
too.
swear, if you get something from Amazon that I don't get from that Harris, I am coming to your house.
The spine will be the first thing I look
Yeah,
at.
exactly. Yes, from then to you,
Uh,
UK. Yeah, I finally got it,
yeah,
Uncle Paul. Thank you.
yeah,
I'm so
yeah,
happy
yeah.
to finally get it.
Doc's got good advice there. Never
He does.
procrastinate on eBay purchases. Very good, my friend. But that's the thing about the collecting thing. So let's just talk about this when you see people also forget that it's the records company's job is to sell records,
Yeah,
right? Whether it's one copy or it's multiple copies of the same record, their job is to sell records.
yeah.
And yes, Paul probably has a say in all of these different color variations that were included in McCartney 3. And I'm sure when his next album comes out next year, there's going to be multiple versions, maybe not as crazy as McCartney 3, but you never know. But then again, I mean, it's the music business, right, Aaron? It's not the music friendship where we're just going to hand out, free copies. It is the music business. And Paul is a businessman, make no bones about it. I mean, he might have been a hippie back in the day, but he is no doubt a businessman.
Look, I don't begrudge anyone. Like I'm not that. Someone was talking up to me the other day about, oh, can you believe Taylor Swift released X amount of? I'm not a Taylor Swift
Right,
fan. Not my cup of tea, but I don't begrudge her. I mean, hey, look, if
right,
someone wants to collect her, that's their business, and that's I
right,
think there's room for all collectors in the world.
right.
But you're
That's
right. It's not. I'm going to steal that music friendship. It is a business, and
Mm,
if we the hard reality is, and this was what Harrison and the Beatles said about Apple and Dark Horse, is
mm,
that we need to sell records so we can sign more artists to put more records out. And that's
right,
how the business works. If they're not making money, then we're not going to get, other stuff. And I know that's oversimplifying. I know that. But at the same time, McCartney, Egypt Station, what, number 3 in America, then McCartney 3, number 1 in
two.
America. Was it 2 or
It was
3
Egypt Station was number one in America. McCartney 3 was number one in the
in the
UK.
UK?
Yeah, yeah.
I love Egypt Station. Just putting it out there. I listen to that album
So do
all the
I.
time. All the
Yeah,
time. It's on my turntable quite often. I think
yeah.
it's one of the just fantastic album. I love McCartney 3 too, but
All
I
right. So
really love.
so
Yes,
for
sorry.
you, yes or for you, yes or no?
New?
No, for you.
What
Are you a
about it? I
fan
love it.
of?
Love it. I love
You
it.
love it? Okay, because I mean, it's one of his modern day songs that kind of a lot of people say poo poo on. So
I tell you,
I love it.
I'm a baseball guy. I love baseball.
Yeah.
The first time I heard "For You," I was in LA visiting my daughter, and we were at Dodger Stadium watching a game, and they
Hmm.
played it between innings.
Mm.
And I thought,
Really?
because they were playing the Yankees, I thought,
Mm.
beautiful, "For You." Like it was, so maybe that's why I love it.
Mm.
Uh, I think that it's a great song, and again, it's all personal, right? Some people don't like,
Mm.
I do get frustrated though. I'm going to put this on the
Right.
table right now. Oh,
Okay.
McCartney's lost his voice. He shouldn't be. Stop it. Because we I love his music, and I don't care if his voice is the same as it was in 74 or 64. Of course,
Right.
he's older. It's going to sound different. So does Brian Ferry. So does Mick Jagger. They all sound different.
Right.
Bob
Mm-hmm.
Dylan. But who cares? It's them. And they're making great
Right.
music. So, anyways, that's just, I'll get off my high horse now.
No,
Sweet.
no, no. I agree. I mean, to a point. Part of me wants him to stop touring because his voice isn't as great as it was, and I just want him to save what voice he has left and save it for new music. Part of
That's
me does that. But then the part of me when I'm actually at his show and I'm watching it and I'm about to start sobbing when he starts singing Once There Was a Way, part of that part of me is like I never want him to stop. You know what I'm saying?
so, yeah. Yeah. Listen,
So
it's the same with Dylan.
uh,
I mean, I'm a
yeah,
big Dylan fan, and I saw him just after the lockdown. And, he
yeah,
came on stage and he started off with, watching the river flow, which I didn't expect.
mm,
Tears of joy, tears
yeah,
of, oh my gosh, there's Bob. He's
yeah,
great. He's cool.
right,
Um,
exactly.
so yeah,
I get you.
that's what I'm kind of at. But I collecting is so subjective, and I'm blessed to have someone in my life that sort of understands some of it. Sometimes you, don't you have that album 15 times? Well, yes and no.
So speaking
Yeah.
speaking of your better half, I mean,
Yeah.
does she have favorite musicians that she's crazy about too,
Tori
or
Amos.
not as much?
Tori Amos.
Oh, okay, Taylor. Okay,
She collects Tori,
yeah,
and she loves Tori, and
mm,
so she gets it to a point. But even she said, like, I got her the new red vinyl or something by Tori Amos. She goes,
right.
maybe I don't need the red vinyl. I'm like, yeah, you do, hon. As a matter of fact, you kind of do.
Right.
Just like
Oh, that's funny, Tony. I'm only collecting records with picture sleeves. Okay. You mean 45s or just
picture sleeves.
general?
Picture sleeves is frustrating because we didn't have them here in Canada until
Right.
maybe the 80s.
Yeah, right.
Growing up in the 70s,
Right.
we would look at, I would look at, okay, I'll give you a good example. I had Happy Christmas War's Over by John Lennon. I bought it in
Mm,
72, 71 when it came out. No
mhm.
picture sleeve here. Mind Games didn't come here with the picture sleeve. I think the first one I ever got was Listen to What the Man Said. That came out here in Canada with the
See,
picture sleeve.
yeah, and that was here in the U.S. too, and I think that was generally, for the most part, the
I
only
agree,
picture
Susan.
sleeve, really U.S. picture sleeve. If I'm not mistaken, I had another day maybe too. I'll have to go
Oh,
back and
Mary
look.
Had a Little Lamb
You
came
know,
out. Mary Had a Little
Mary Had a
Lamb had
Little
a
Lamb
sleeve.
had a picture sleeve. Yep, yep.
A
So
Ringo
yeah,
Photograph had a
yeah,
sleeve. Year 16 had a
sleeve.
sleeve.
Yeah,
Back Off
but it
Boogaloo.
wasn't Boogaloo. But it wasn't really until the '80s where they really got embraced by the record companies, where just about everything had a picture sleeve,
Yeah, true enough.
or at
Yeah.
least its initial first run of 45s. So, and that was a fun time too. And uh, I'm also starting to venture out a little bit into my favorite female singer, Olivia Newton-John. I love Olivia. And I've been picking up some of her picture sleeves from around the world as well. Egypt Station is my favorite McCartney album, and a stunning release showcasing Paul's diversity and genius. Yeah, like Ram. I agree
I
100%. And those and
100%.
those tracks and those bonus tracks that didn't make the album. My
Oh,
God.
they were great. They were great.
Oh,
Not a
in
weak
a
moment. Yeah.
yeah, in a hurry, home tonight. That 45 that came out
Love
in
that 45.
on Black Friday was I think 19 back in 19.
20. I love that single.
Fantastic. Yeah. Even Get Enough that they released on New Year's Eve, New Year's night or whatever. Auto tune aside,
But it works in that
I
song. But it actually
yes.
works. I mean, he's using it
Yeah.
as a tool, as an instrument, and it actually
Mhm.
works. And oh, sorry, Susan.
Let's see
Mine was on
here.
green
Yeah.
vinyl too, but it wasn't no picture sleeve. Oh, I always thought I mean,
Yeah.
I got it later in life. I got the American picture sleeve with John and Yoko and the choir.
Right.
But
Mm,
it's funny you say that about Olivia Newton-John because it's fun to collect and it's fun to find
mhm,
things. And as I just got back from LA and I picked up Frank Ifield, I Remember You on VJ.
mhm.
I got that for a couple of reasons, but one reason was because it was released just before they put out Please Please Me. and the
Mm,
catalog number and stuff. But I just love that stuff. Like to me, it's a moment in time. And I'm with you, Tony. I like picture sleeves too, but
yeah.
they're kind of. I got the Ringo one, February Sky. Yay! So
Yes. You did get a copy.
I did. Yeah,
Excellent.
my
Very
daughter
cool.
went down
Yeah.
to Amoeba, lined up, and
Yeah.
I
Nice.
said to her, "Look, you don't give me a copy. A, you're out of the will. B,
Well, there you go. See what the collecting thing does to us, you know?
but you remember back in the '80s, Tom, when
Mm,
McCartney started doing the remixes for like
right.
No More Lonely Nights. There was a number of remixes, and um, people were kind of complaining about that. I quite enjoyed the remixes.
Right.
I was one of the few going, "Oh, this is cool." And then Ebony and Ivory without Stevie on the B side of the 12 inch. That was great.
Right, of the 12-inch. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and that's when you do get into some crazier stuff when, back because in the 80s the 12-inch single was pretty big.
Yeah, huge.
And then you would get a lot of remixes on I mean, especially during the press to play. I mean, you
Ah,
got the remix of Pretty Little
Strangle,
Head.
Pretty
Yeah,
Little Head,
Stranglehold.
Stranglehold,
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uncle
So,
Paul, to your point, it's funny. It did come out on Apple, and I have the Apple one, and I have the John
hmm
and Yoko morph. But it's in the other room. But I have the Canadian one on Apple. And it's on black vinyl. It wasn't even on green vinyl here. So
yeah.
I don't know.
So, we're gonna get to Doc's question here in 1 second, but
Good question.
besides the three die on on each or McCartney three,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
what are some of the holy grails that you're still looking for?
Oh, original Apple mono white album. Um,
Mm,
could never afford that.
mm,
Holy Grails. There's a lot. Just my mind went blank, but I'd love to find, as I mentioned, two Virgins mono. Um,
mono, right?
Mono, yeah, because it's apparently a different mix.
Mm,
I would love to find the single of Yoko's that came out. Was it Greenfield Morning? I pushed an empty baby
mm,
carriage. There's a lot. Of course, the yellow vinyl from Third Man. Um,
yeah, yeah.
oh, and my ultimate goal is Ringo and Robin Limited 45 that came out on Apple the day they opened up their store in London. Promo
Oh,
copy, which
okay.
is and the two singles they released on EMI, one with Ringo, I think it's Only You, where he's talking on the B side to the Sellers, and I think it's Whatever Gets You Through the Night, and it's got a
Mm,
message from John on the other side. They're promo. They're impossibly hard to find. So those are. What about
wow.
you? What about
Well,
you?
well, I mean, yeah, the third man is the 333 version is still something I would like to get. I have the Run Devil Run box set with the record case with all the
I have that.
45s in
Yep.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
However, the promo sticker fell off. So I have to get it's gonna bug me for the rest of my life if I don't replace it with the sticker, on it.
I know. I know
You know
that.
what I mean?
Yeah,
You get it.
100%.
We're from the same cloth. But and
Yeah.
then I do kind of regret not getting the big barn box, the combo with Wildlife and Red Rose
Oh, I have
Speedway.
that with the
Yeah,
live
and
CD.
then with the live CD. But I knew I knew my cousin could burn it and get it to me anyways. However, they look better on the shelf separate than they do with and that's how I am. But let's get to Doc's question here. Which version of Miss Odell do you prefer, straight or laughing?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, it's a tough one. I mean, I prefer the laughing only because I'm used to it. I mean, I grew up with it.
right.
It's nice. It's nice to hear
Yeah,
Harrison have a good laugh, quite frankly.
right.
But the
Yeah,
straight version's good, so I can make out the lyrics.
yeah. Right, there you
So,
go.
I mean,
It's good,
it's
right? But it is the laughing version I do prefer.
me too.
I just just for whatever reason. Plus, you got that little. I don't know if the regular version, if he's got the straight version, does he still put out the Paul's old phone number at the end of that one,
That's a good. I'd
or
have
is
to listen to it again. I forgot.
yeah,
That's
right?
mm.
Which is a nice little ding on Paul
Austin
there.
6922.
Two, yes. Let's see here. From Dino, John and Yoko, record collectors, special magazine coming soon with a comprehensive discography and feature on all of their albums. Okay. Tony, we're talking about the 12-inch for those remixes, if that's what you're talking about. This is I don't have any of those on Aaron's wish list, nor do I have a butcher cover. Okay.
Susan, can I tell you my funny story about my butcher cover? When I was 11 years old, my brother had a friend from Ohio, Dayton, and he came to our house. He was visiting, and he brought a stack of Beatle records, and he gave me a stack, and one of them was the butcher cover. And I said, I can't take this. This is, worth a lot of money, and it's rare. In all fairness, I was a kid. I had conscience,
Mm.
and he patted me on the head and said, "Well, isn't that cute? He really thinks he knows what he's talking about." So I went, "You know what? All guilt aside, I'll keep it. Thank you very much.
Right.
I still have
That's okay.
it." You idiot.
uh, the the butcher cover for me has kind of lost a little luster. I don't really strive to own a butcher cover. I mean, especially what the people are trying to get for it now.
Yeah, it's
It's
crazy.
kind of little. Yeah, it's kind of a little.
I
I
was
mean, I
lucky.
hear
I was lucky.
yeah, I mean, I hear stories about people saying that in the 80s they couldn't give those away, or they were selling for like as less as $100, so, but there's Duke, that's my cousin who I started
Hey,
the Two
Duke.
Leg Show with. Obviously Duke Viking is not his real name, but
I like.
Thomas Egypt Station is still available on color vinyl. Well, you can go to the Barnes and Noble's website, Tony, and
Yeah,
type in and they might still have their
they.
color version of that. However, I don't think the Spotify version is available
Nah, it's hard to find.
anymore.
Spotify's hard
And
to
that's
find.
what yeah, and that's the one I'm still looking for because
I
I kind of I don't know how you feel about the whole streaming thing. I am like we are both physical media guys. I can sense that about you. Um, you know, but and I'm just like, why am I going to order why is Spotify, which is a streaming service, is offering a physical media product,
yeah.
um, and why am I going to support Spotify by ordering this when I am a physical media guy? So obviously thanks to you, I do have the McCartney 3 Coke bottle, but the Egypt Station Spotify is proven hard to find and costly.
I agree with everything you're saying with Spotify. No, Doc, it's and sadly it's the American one. The Canadian one,
Right.
I would probably be living in a nicer house. But no, I wouldn't sell it, so I guess I wouldn't be. But
Yeah.
no, my house is fine.
Right.
I have a rule. I have a rule with Spotify. Here's my rule: if I don't
Mm,
own the physical, I won't listen to it on
right.
Spotify. Or if I
Okay.
I'll listen to the pre-orders and stuff because I pre-ordered it. But
Right.
I have very firm beliefs about. I mean, I know I have really good friends who are musicians, and I see the money they get from Spotify compared to what they would have gotten if they sold
Right.
records. And I can't. It's just for me. It's just, and that's just me. Everyone has their own opinion. That's grand. But
Right.
but I agree with you. But you know what, Tony or Tom? Every single time there's a new album, I check the merch on Spotify to see if there's a
Oh,
limited
really?
edition. Yeah, because there's and it doesn't make sense, but I'll buy it.
Right. What's
Well,
the
that's cool.
yeah? Is there ever a moment you think you might get rid of anything collection, or do you think like, hey, is this like an investment to you, or are these like cherished items that you don't think you ever want to part with?
Well, I'm starting to sell my non-Beatles stuff, stuff that I haven't listened to. If I haven't listened to it in 15 plus years, then I'm thinking, okay, this isn't really something I really dig anymore. And some of the
Right.
stuff I bought, when I was, again, I'm a lot older than you, so at some point you buy some things, you kind of go, yeah, I'd like to know what I was thinking then. But so I'm selling my non-Beatles stuff. My Beatles stuff is really, I love the music. I love the
Yeah.
physical.
Yeah.
I'm not selling any Beatles stuff as of yet.
Mm,
I worry though, I feel bad about leaving it to my family to deal with after I go. But I mean, I'm lucky. I have a daughter who loves music as much as I do, and she just texted me yesterday and said, "Dad, do you still have all those? Like, you have all the old King songs, right? Do you still listen to them,
right.
or are those some of the albums you're getting rid of?" No, honey, I'm keeping the Kings. They'll be here for you when I
Yeah.
die, but right now
Right, what
they're
do you right now, don't touch.
don't touch. They're my
Don't
records. They're my,
touch.
because I got all the Kinks Canadian on Pie records.
Yeah,
I'm like, no, honey,
right.
no, 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 no.
Well, let's talk about that for a second because I think we can say that we're both fans of other music as well.
Of course, yeah,
And you mentioned the Kinks. We did you did get to see ELO this last time
I
around,
did.
correct?
Yeah.
Because you saw was Ethan was at the same place that you guys were
No,
at,
he was at
or what
the
was that picture?
Ringo Starr.
Was it the Ringo show? Okay,
Ringo,
that you
yeah.
got
Uh,
to see Ethan on. Yeah.
I'm seeing Springsteen Sunday, um,
Okay.
and I'm going actually extravagant, but I'm not missing Gilmore. So he's playing New York, so it's a quick drive
Oh, really?
down and a quick drive back. But I'm
I used to be a catering chef, and I've told
yes,
the
I know.
story a
I
couple
saw you use
times.
both
No, did
fish.
I? Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that was like the greatest week of working that job was hearing Gilmore. This was at the Hollywood Bowl. Being outside, open air cooking, and hearing Gilmore rehearse, and then play. Just a fantastic week. Yeah.
But who? I mean, you collected Olivia? Anyone else?
Well, yeah, yes and no. It just depends. So, like, yeah, Olivia, and then, but with the rest of that stuff, it's more CDs than
Hmm.
vinyl. Okay, now, like for me to order, in order for me to buy something on vinyl, it has to be like one of my favorite albums. Period. Like, Coltrane is like John Coltrane's "A Love Supreme" is my favorite non-Beatles record. It's if there was no Beatles, Coltrane's "Love Supreme" would be my favorite record of all time. Um, I do love Morrissey and the Smiths, and I'm going
I'm,
to see Morrissey
I'm,
next month in
I'm
in
seeing
Michigan.
him. Me too. I'm
Yeah,
seeing him in
yeah,
Niagara Falls.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
No, no shit.
yeah,
Awesome. Yeah,
yeah.
so I'll collect that, their stuff on vinyl as well. Huge Judas Priest fan, so I'll get some of their records as well, Genesis. So I mean, yeah, there's stuff that I will get on vinyl, but it's more CDs. So it's just I usually generally just keep the vinyl collecting to, the Beatles and the four camps. Yeah.
See, but I'm lucky because again, I keep drawing on my age, but I was able to pick up the Roxy Music albums during the '70s when
Mm,
they came out, and I mean,
right.
Beatles, Dylan, Roxy, Kinks are like I love
Right.
Roxy Music so much. So I don't have to I don't buy the reissued remaster ones. I've got my original, they're good, and I got the CDs, they're good, and I'm happy. I don't need to go and buy
Right.
15 colors of For Your Pleasure. I do
Right.
need 15 colors of Egypt Station.
Yes.
you know,
Yes. See, and there's other artists too. I have a friend. He's a YouTuber called Steven Schnee. I don't know if you're familiar with him or not. But anyways,
sure.
he's a big '80s guy.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's how I
and
know him.
I'll
Yeah.
get with yeah. So I'll like message him. Hey, give me a couple '80s albums that you're huge fans of. So he suggested the first Flock of Seagull
It's a
record. I got
great
that.
album. It's a great album.
Great album. Oh my God, fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, in another album I did, the first time I got the Police discography back in the late '90s, didn't care for him besides the hits. I did pick up the Synchronicity reissue this past summer.
Oh, the
Fell in
box
love with
set?
the album.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, just the two disc.
Okay.
Yeah, and then just announced was the Queen is now start. Looks like they're starting to release 50th anniversaries now of their albums with just the recent release of Queen One,
Queen one.
which I may be interested in to get those because A Night at the Opera is one of my favorite albums of all time.
Yeah, and I was just gonna brag for a second. I actually saw the
Yeah.
Smiths here in Toronto.
Oh,
I saw them.
okay,
Billy
now it's my turn to get. Look at the
Billy Billy
time.
Billy Bragg opened. It was great.
Right, right.
And I had the T-shirt, "Meet His Murder," and all that. No,
Oh,
yeah. And listen, if you like the first Flock of Seagulls album, check out "Story of a Young Heart" album.
mm,
That's a good album too. Anyways, I
okay.
digress.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's lots of stuff that I like. I mean, contrary to popular belief, I do listen to other music other than Beatles and solo Beatles. Mind you, they're my go-to. Like
Right. Yeah.
if I'm trying to think, what do I want to listen to? Well, throw on. I just yesterday put on London Town because I haven't heard that for a while. So and it sounds great.
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, I forgot how good this album is. Or
It is great, and I don't know why he poops on this album so much as he does. I mean,
I don't know.
obviously there's things, you know. I think he's got bad. I think he was mad at Capitol for not pushing London Town as much as they probably could have. I mean, it went to number two. It's a number two album with the number one
Yeah,
song
but
on it. You
that
know.
number one was Saturday Night
Yeah.
Fever, which was the biggest selling album.
Yes.
I mean,
Right. Well, no one was going to get in that way. I mean, but I mean, maybe Paul could have. Paul was still a big act.
yeah, I think it came down to airplay. Like because the American
Mm,
Billboard charts is a combination of sales and airplay. And if people are
right.
playing the hell out of Saturday Night Fever, then London Town's not going to
Right.
go with. I mean, it was the same as Ram and Tapestry. And here in
Mm,
Canada, I'm proud to say that Tapestry got toppled by Ram. And actually, here in
right.
Canada, Ringo made number one on the Canadian national
Mm,
charts.
right.
Um,
And
oh,
I
I
like
like
this
that.
here. I
That's
have a.
I know the feeling, Susan. I had the
Mm,
same problem.
mhm,
McCartney 3
right.
reimagined. Yeah, yeah. That was another one that
Yeah.
was a bit stressful. Yeah,
Right. Yeah. I didn't go crazy with that one. I think
I
I do
did.
have two copies of that one, but
I got them
yeah.
all. I
But
got them
anyways,
all.
yeah.
But so yeah, but it is my go-to, and that's to me that, and I'm sure everyone who's listening and watching,
Mm,
if wildlife can get, oh, I know that would be great. Um, I listen to a lot of the old albums sometimes just because it's,
right.
and I don't know about you, Tom, but I find myself dipping into albums you just don't think about. Like I'll put on Gon Troppo, which I
Yeah.
love by Harrison. Great
Right.
album. There's a fantastic album. So
Yeah, if I know if there's a record that I hadn't spent much time with for a while, I will try to purposely put, and more of an effort to get to it, you know. But okay, so the recent Japanese
I
SD or
love those.
SHMs,
They're great.
yes,
You got them
they sound
obviously.
yes, yeah, they sound fantastic. I did
They do.
pre-order the next
They sound
round.
amazing.
Uh, yeah.
I
And
love
then
them.
this is what I mean by does Paul hate London Town and Back to the Egg? Because if you look at that next batch, it should be ending with London Town and not Wings Greatest. So
I don't know. It's like the missing box set. I really wish you would put out a
yeah.
box set of London Town and Back to the Egg. Two
Oh, we all
really.
do.
I
Yeah.
know. I know. I'm not alone. I
Mm,
know. I have to. Can
mm.
I ask you a question about recent stuff?
Yes.
Are you a
Yeah.
fan of the meditation remixes of Mind Games?
Okay, well, my cousin David here, he did get it. He's enjoying it. So then Andy got it, on David's recommendation, and I'm holding back. I think I'm going to be the lone wolf here in the trio of friends here, and I'm not going to. I think I'm gonna, stay away from it. But you never know. Maybe I'll go on YouTube and sample, a song, and if I enjoy it, maybe you never know. Never say never, right?
That's right. And Susan, I know what you mean. The Mind
Uh,
Games cube, but also I have
yeah.
Flaming Pie in a big blue box,
Oh, did you get the big blue box?
which just doesn't fit anywhere.
Right.
It's so
Right.
inconvenient. Like I have it
It
beside.
is.
It's really
Right.
huge, and it's standing beside a shelf of records because I don't know where. And unfortunately, my cat seems to like rubbing her fat face up against it, so I'm always brushing off the fur.
Brushing.
Like I've taken. She's down to 4 lives. I swear.
Right.
She
Mm.
keeps it
And
up.
and
Keep
that's
it
what.
up.
Yeah. That's one of the frustrating things about box sets, right? Is because you look at those Beatles box sets, and they're all kind of different sizes. But that's one of the things that I liked about the McCartney box sets is that they're all the same dimensions for the most part. Yes, and here's our buddy, the young whippersnapper that is Owen Ling, and Owen did give you a little.
He
He
did.
helped you with the book, right?
I cannot thank Owen enough. And actually,
Mm,
if you're in Dublin, I'm going to be there in end of March, so could
yeah,
give you a coffee or whatever you like. How
yeah.
you doing, man? I enjoy your
Eh,
posts, and I enjoy and I love your book too. By the way, great book, great book.
Whippersnapper.
Well, listen, George Harrison in the '70s, great book, and I highly
Yeah, yeah.
recommended reading.
Yes, yes. Yes.
He's not. Well,
I
you
know
are
Owen.
at
I know
31.
he
You
is.
are. I'm
Yeah.
60, man.
Yeah.
So
And I'm 51, so I'm 20 years older than you. Anyways, looking forward to it. Yeah. So hopefully you guys do meet up, get some pictures together. I look forward to seeing that. My big blue box and the famous suitcase are also in the cellar. My cube isn't lonely. Now of all my things that are packed up right now, I gotta admit that I am missing my suitcase. Now I do I do love the suitcase. I'm glad
oh
I
no,
did
that's
pick
one of the
that up.
best. That's
Yeah.
my two favorite box sets is the singles box
Mm.
set and the wooden crate, which is absolutely
Right.
brilliant.
Oh,
And
the Harrison
the
crate. Yeah.
uh,
Now what were your thoughts when now did you get it delivered? Did you have to pick up at the post office or the wooden crate? How was
I had to help. We had this old postman, and he rang the
yeah.
doorbell. Can you help me up the stairs with us? Yes, as well. Hey Susan, it's okay. You don't
Right.
look a day over 40. Um,
What
he's like, can you help me up the stairs with us? I'm like, wait, what is this? And I was like, oh, I know
Right.
what this is. So yeah, I got it delivered luckily, but
Right.
that was a bit of a. I like that box. I think it's beautifully put together and
I
it
think it's
smells nice and
fantastic.
it has a
Yes,
nice fragrance and
I at the time living in Arizona I was on the third floor, 3 flights of stairs. My mail person was not going to take that thing upstairs, so I had to go myself to the post office to pick that damn thing up. Carry it to the car, then carry it up 3 flights of stairs.
I know the things we go through for being Beatle fans. I swear that's just not right.
Yes, yes. Susan's got us beats. We love you,
Oh,
Susan.
Corey Hart had lots of hits here. Let me just, if you don't mind, I'm going to just go over here for a quick sec. He had, what's that song by Elvis Wiseman say? Only fools fall in love. Can't help falling in love with you.
You,
Um, it ain't enough. Sunglasses at night. Eurasian Eyes was a big hit. Never Surrender was massive. Never
Never Surrender
Surrender.
and Sunglasses at Night were the two songs that I remember here during my early, in the MTV days.
Yeah.
Love those two
Uh,
songs.
I tell you, my wife's cousin actually went to school with Corey Hart High School because they're both from Montreal. My wife's from Montreal, and sweet guy,
Wait, they
nice
they
guy.
named it they named it Corey Hart High School.
No, not yet, not yet,
Oh,
not yet. But my cousin Adam, well, her cousin Adam went to school with them. So every time we were in Montreal, oh, let's see what's Corey in town. Let's hang out. Anyways, yeah, he was big
yeah,
here. He was in the '80s. The Canadian artists that were big. He was him, Brian Adams.
Brian Adams. Yeah,
Brian Adams was huge
Rush.
here. Rush
Yeah,
was massive, but Corey was he was kind of the cool one, and
yeah.
it was a few of them, but he was big. Yeah.
Now,
Did
did you
either of
ever
you
get to
get
see?
All Things
Well,
Must
no, go ahead.
Grass?
Here, let me.
What's that?
All
What's
things must all things must grass. No, now there was a cigarette company, or was
no?
it a cigarette company? But there was a company that released like papers and other like
It's
ashtray, and they
funny.
all had yeah, they all had the all things must pass pictures and gnomes and all that stuff.
That's funny.
It was
That's a
kind.
good
I don't know
man.
if I would say it was controversial, but we were all looking for the high version of that from that company, uh, but never released, unfortunately.
Did I
So
tell you my high story?
no, I'd love to hear it.
Okay, 10 years old, grade 4 in
Hmm.
Whitby, Ontario. We had to bring in our favorite record to play for music class. I brought in high, high. I got suspended for a week.
Nice. Of course you did. uh,
So true. It's true.
it's
Boy, it's too
true.
funny.
It's
It's
true.
true. It's true.
It's true.
Robbie Robertson. Yeah, I mean
That's another
he's
note. Yeah. Neil Young fan.
huge. I saw
Yeah.
Neil Young several times. I saw him actually with
Yeah.
Pearl Jam and Soundgarden.
Oh, okay.
And Pearl Jam was actually Soundgarden. Soundgarden was Pearl
Yeah.
Jam was his backup band.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. Yeah, Doc, living in Canada. Yeah, you don't remember the other ones. I mean, Corey Hart had a few hits, at least in. Hey, listen, offshore radio. Who knows?
Mhm.
I love Dylan beyond belief. Robbie
Did you
Robertson.
ever get
Yeah,
into Gordon Lightfoot?
of course. I mean, I don't think he could be a
Yeah.
Canadian.
Yeah.
record the
It's
Emmett
like as soon as you're
Fitzgerald.
born, if you're born in Canada, it's just like you're born being a
I'm sorry.
Gordon Lightfoot fan.
They
It's
said
like
they sent you home from the hospital with a Gordon Lightfoot cassette.
Lightfoot.
No, yeah, I loved Gordon Lightfoot. I saw. I mean, he used to do his yearly shows at
Yeah,
Massey Hall, and
yeah,
he was great.
right.
I mean, I love Gordon. I mean, imagine if you had brought. Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Doc. I would. Would have
Mhm.
been a week suspension. It would have been a good month. Miss Bell did not appreciate "Hi, Hi, Hi." I'll never forget
No.
that. She took it off halfway through the song, just when he got to the line about
Yeah.
"lay back on the bed, recover from the trip you've been
Right
on," and
for
that was
about
it.
right.
She just the needle off the record. Badgley, office.
Get the needle off the record. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. Yeah, yeah. Gordon's. So I had like he came to Arizona a lot. Back in the last few years of his life, and I am now just kicking myself in the ass for not going and seeing him. I did get to see Chris Christopherson live,
Me too.
and I'm really happy that he's, as a lyricist, I think he's one of the best lyricists. Not necessarily known for his singing, but I love his words. I love his lyrics.
Oh,
So
Casey's Last Ride is one of the best songs ever written. But
yeah. Mm,
DJ, I don't know where you are, DJ, but Bruce Cockburn is huge here in Canada. And if you like Bruce Cockburn, you might like Murray McLaughlin. They're both kind of
mm,
the similar sounds. Bruce is
yeah.
huge, and I love Bruce, of course. Seen him.
Yeah.
His Christmas album is a staple in this house at Christmas
Right.
time. Bruce Cockburn's Christmas album. So, yep,
Yeah. Cool. I was gonna stick around till maybe about 20 more minutes if you got time.
sure.
If you're not in a
This is
hurry.
fun. I love it.
But
I
yeah,
can talk
you're
about
right.
music 24 hours a day, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what about movies? Are you a movie fan at all?
Yes, I am indeed. I'll admittedly say I'm more of an old movies guy. Like,
Yeah.
I grew up with the 30s, 40s, 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, test
See
pressing.
here.
Oh, well, oh, you know what? I got the test pressing of Let Him In. Me too.
Oh, you
So
got to let him in? Okay.
I did. Yeah,
I
yeah.
got a boring. Andy and I, we got the same test pressing in our singles box.
Which one? Which one?
Nod your head.
No, are you? I mean, yeah, I love Boris Karloff, one of
Mm,
my favorite actors. I love
yeah.
Hitchcock films. I love,
Right.
but I mean, I like new stuff too. But I'm really an old film buff. How about you?
Oh yeah, I'm all over. Like just got to pick this one, Pandora's Box. This is from
Brilliant.
1929.
I love that movie.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah. Criterion just released this
Criterion
one.
is great. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I got the their see.
nice one,
But
Susan.
yeah, yeah. But yeah. I can all through history. I mean, I there's been a bunch of films that I've really enjoyed uh, this um, this year. One being Late Night with the Devil is
Hmm.
one film that I really liked this
I
year,
actually really liked
and
that movie.
yeah, and Long Legs I really enjoyed as well. So I'm not the biggest horror fan per
I
se,
am.
but
I love horror films.
oh
Yeah,
really? Yeah.
yeah.
See, and then as controversial as this was when it came out, I still enjoyed it, but they released a brand new cut of it, and that was the 1980 version of Caligula. But it's funny because
we all snuck in at 16.
yeah, but there's the funny thing is with that is
DJ.
they apparently they filmed like 90 hours of footage for Caligula. Okay, so they used completely different takes for of the same film as the original, but they used different takes. And then obviously the 86 the hardcore stuff that was in the Bob Guccione version. So this version that they released is more true to the script, the original script, and the director's vision. So
I'll watch it.
it's
You
pretty
know,
good. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. So as a movie buff, because I'm a huge Malcolm McDowell fan, and I like his stuff. I think he was a great actor. So,
he was.
but yeah. So you're an old you like the Universal horror stuff.
Love that.
Uh,
I love
yeah,
39 Steps is a great film.
yeah,
I do love
yeah.
all the classic Universal. I like.
Mm.
I'm a huge Bogart fan. Nice
Oh
test
yeah.
pressing,
Yep.
Susan. I'm if
Yep.
Bogart's on TCM, I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Cagney.
Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
also a fan of like, believe it or not, you're gonna laugh when I say this, but before My Three Sons, Fred McMurray
Yeah.
did some great movies, well, especially with
Yeah.
Barbara Stanwyck. Um,
Yes.
So yeah, I'm a film buff, and I know that Owen reads a lot, and I look at his
Hmm.
readings. I read. Luckily, I'm an insomniac, so
Right.
I get time to read and listen to music and watch movies.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah. Let's see, Susan, I did see Conclave last week, and I thought so far it's the best
I haven't
movie
seen
so
it.
far this year. I thought
Really?
it was fantastic. Ray Fiennes he's gonna get nominated for Best Actor for this. It was great. It was really really good.
And
So I'm glad.
I don't know
Go
it.
ahead.
Oh,
Mm,
Keith Hampshire. Oh man. Well,
mm,
he was actually born in England, Doc, and I think England, and he moved here and he had a TV show. And
mm,
he had one cut. The first cut is the deepest was his big hit here in Canada. But his TV show was legendary because he would get everybody and
mm,
anybody on the show in the 70s. And big fan of Keith. And I'm not ever putting down Canada. I just, there were some limitations to record collecting for the country.
mm.
Oh, is it? I've never seen
Wow,
that.
that
Nora? Okay,
Honora, this yeah, I
I've
mean
not
it's
seen it.
getting a yeah, it's getting a really small release here in the States, so I'm hoping I get a chance to see it, and hopefully I don't have to drive 2 hours to go see it. But I
Big time
definitely want to
operator.
see that. Now I did see Megalopolis, the current Coppola film, and I gotta tell you that's might make my list for the worst. Might make my the top of my worst films of the year list,
I
unfortunately.
have to ask Owen a question. Do you go to the
Yeah.
lighthouse in Dublin? My daughter goes there probably at least twice a week, but just have to ask
Mm,
that. Big time operator Keith
mm,
Hampshire. That was a big song too. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yeah, you're
mm,
bringing
yeah.
bringing back the memories, Doc. Actually, can I segue for a sec?
Please.
I'm researching a book on a group called Klaatu, a Canadian band who everyone thought
Yes.
was the
Yeah.
Beatles, and they were
Right.
on Keith Hampshire's TV show in '74.
Mm,
They did two songs, "True Life Hero" and "California Jam," and
mm.
yeah. You're at the lighthouse over the
There
week.
you
So is my
go.
daughter. Did you see Linda? Say
Yeah.
hi to her for me when you see her. Uh,
Let's see here. I
Hammer
do.
Hammer horrors are the best. Yeah, they're fantastic.
Hello,
Have you ever
James. Good to see
the
you. Yeah.
TV show was good too, James. Hammer.
Mm.
No, I
Um.
have not yet. I think Owen did. Owen, you've seen it, have you not?
Yeah.
But Brian,
I kind of don't want to see it. I just kind of don't want to see it.
I'll
Not
watch it.
because of yeah. Um. I just feel like I'm gonna get disappointed. Be disappointed with it. Um. Anyways, books. What are you reading lately? Do you read anything in particular? Do you read any other Beatle books?
I read all the Beatle books. I mean, I'm up to date with all the books. Deidre's book, Deidre Kelly
Yeah.
on the fashion. I just finished Bruce Beiser's most recent book. I
Mm,
read Gary Burr's, he called it a
yeah.
fairy tale, an adult fairy tale.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so I've
I
read,
just picked
yeah,
this up. This one
it
just came out. Yeah.
came today because I got the
Yep.
autograph copy from where did I get it from? Rough Trade in England. It just came.
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah, I read. I also read a lot of Irish. I read a guy named John Connolly, and
Okay.
who I love, Stephen King. Believe it or not, I know
Oh, I
Stephen
love
King.
Stephen King. Yeah, I read a lot
I've
of Stephen King myself.
I That's
Yeah.
good as long as you accept some inaccuracies.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's fair
Right.
enough.
Right.
There's some inaccuracies to all the movies.
Actually, the
Mine's
what's the name of the movie that with the Killian Murphy that's coming out here? I'm forgetting the name. It's from a novel. I don't know if it's from an Irish writer or not, but anyways, I'm forgetting the name of it. But I was looking forward to seeing it.
I read a book called Mayflies, and the author's name just he's
Mm,
Scottish, and the name just went right out of my head.
mm,
That was a beautiful, very lyrical book.
yeah.
I mean, heartbreaking
Right.
and just almost traumatized
Yeah.
me. So I read, and then of course I read I must confess I read the classics. Small Things Like These is about oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good book.
Mm,
Small Things Like These.
yeah. This is
So
what
yeah,
I'm trying to get through. This is what I'm trying to get through right now. The
that's a
Count of Monte
classic.
Cristo. So
That's a
oh
classic.
yeah, but so this is what I'm trying to. But besides all the Beatle books that keep coming out, I mean that keeps
Uh,
interrupting my, because
I know.
before I started the podcast, I had a good thing going to where it was like I was reading a Beatle book, and then I would go to like a classic slash Stephen King book,
Yeah.
then Beatle book, and then and then so on, and then it all went downhill after I started the podcast, because then all these Beatle or these McCartney books that have been coming out lately,
I look
take
forward
up
to
a lot of my time.
McCartney Legacy too. I can't wait.
Yes, yes,
Excited for that.
I cannot confirm or deny that I'm on the fourth chapter right now.
The fact that you're so specific.
Yeah.
Woo!
Anyways, the book. The book is Dark Horse Records. Okay, the story
Oh,
of
just
George
kidding,
Harrison's
just kidding.
post record. I know, but no. Okay, so let's get back to the book. How has it been doing? You said it's been a year in. Are you
Yeah, it's
happy?
done.
Do you know how it's been doing sell wise?
It's done very well. I'm very happy. I got good reviews. Thank you, Owen.
Yeah,
Very, very, very
yeah,
much. I've had good reviews, good response. A lot of people have emailed. I think there's for me, it's really funny. The highest compliments I get when I get a message going, I never heard of Splinter before, and I went on whatever and listened to them,
right,
and man, are they good. Great. Discover this music. It's
right,
Henry McCulloch. Henry McCulloch's
right.
album is phenomenal. So yeah, I'm happy. People have been very kind, and I appreciate that. And I know it's not perfect. There's typos and all that stuff, but I tried.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm working on a couple of other books right now, and then we'll see where it goes.
yeah.
You know,
Very
but
good.
I've been happy. Mhm.
Yeah. I'll say no. I mean, can you say what you're working on, or you want to keep that
Yeah,
a secret?
no,
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 no.
no. Terry Draper of Klaatu spilled the beans on all these
Yeah,
Klaatu websites saying, "Oh, Aaron Badgley is working on our biography." It's like, thanks, Terry. Because then I
right.
got all these. Are you done? Is it coming close? No, I'm just researching it right now. Simmer down. No, I'm writing that.
uh, can mm,
Yeah,
I
we
came in
have.
late so the questions may have been asked. If you watch
Yes,
Ken's, yeah, I started it the other
brilliant,
night, and I need to finish
fantastic,
it. I'm fantastic, great job by Ken to get those three together to pay
fantastic.
tribute to
Denny
Denny
Lane,
Lane. Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I like your
Favorite
ELO
era?
portion.
What's
George
who's that?
of
Oh no, no, I see James and his
James
yeah,
had a yeah the
yeah,
ELO.
yeah.
Very nice, very nice.
Hello, right. Yep,
Favorite era of the
yep, yep.
Beatles or
Favorite era of McCartney.
yeah, it depends on the day. Like some days
Yeah,
my favorite album is Ram. Some days it's I love Ram. I think it's, but I don't think it's my
yep.
favorite era. I really like the stuff he did in the 80s. I love
Mm,
a lot of the stuff in the 80s. Um, it's hard. Like I always make this joke. It's like asking me, do I have a favorite daughter? No, of course not. I mean, it's you know. So there you go. Do you have a
yeah.
favorite era?
Favorite. Um. Yeah. I mean, listen. You can say it's a cop out, but listen. That lineup of Jimmy, Joe, Denny, Linda, and Paul. Um. I think it's hard to top that lineup.
Yeah.
In the musical input that or output that he released that time. Favorite era of George.
I'd have to say I really like the stuff you did from 75, extra texture included, right up
Mm,
until Cloud Nine. I mean, I love
mm,
Brainwash too. Don't misunderstand me. But
right.
that period, he was doing so much George Harrison is so different from 33 and a third, which is very different from Gontrapo, Somewhere in England. They're all different albums. They're very distinct. George Harrison is so laid back, so very acoustic, actually, and in my opinion, and it's just I love that era because Harrison was really just he wasn't really paying attention to what was going on in terms of other
No,
music.
right,
He was just
right.
putting out stuff he loved. I Gone Trouble. I keep going back to that album because it's just
Mm.
and Wake Up My Love. I would like someone to explain why that wasn't a hit. Anyways, that's just me.
No, and that's the way it goes was the fantastic. Now I mean the first time I heard that's the way it goes was on the best of Dark Horse when that came out was it 89 I think when that came out. Um so I
Is
was like,
it,
"Oh man, I need to find Gone Trapo and listen to it." But
what's your favorite?
but
What's
then
your
the
favorite era?
song
What's your favorite era
I
of
would have to
Harrison?
say yeah, no, listen, I would have to probably say the Well, it's two. Okay, it would be the first two records, first proper solo records, and then the last two of the '70s. And then I go back and forth because there's so many great songs on those four albums. But I think I got to give the edge slightly to the earlier period because just so many, and the appreciation that I have now for songs like "Be Here Now," and and so many other songs from "Living in the Material World." I think I'm gonna have to pick that.
Reevaluate. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
I think Susan, thank you. Picking a favorite
yeah,
McCartney album is like picking a
yeah.
favorite Beatle
Was
album.
yeah,
It's just not in my
right.
wheelhouse. But I agree with you, Tom. I mean, but then again, I think something like "Somewhere in England," "Blood from a Clone," just
Yeah,
a great
"Blood
song.
from a Clone." Yeah, yeah,
Such a great
exactly.
song.
Unconsciousness Rules, I think, is a
Yeah.
fun one,
Yeah.
as well.
Teardrops.
How?
Teardrops is
Yeah,
the most commercial record he ever did.
you think so?
I do. I think he was one of the few
Mm,
songs, and of course, we haven't even touched on the Traveling Wilburys, which was just a work of
right,
art. First album
right.
is just as a classic, no argument there.
Yeah. It was looking at when we were doing Talk More Talk the other night, and we were talking about the film, and then also when we did the watch through last week on Two Legs, I was watching the warehouse scene where it's
I
Chris
love that.
Spedding,
Yeah,
Dave Edmunds, Ringo. I was like, this is almost kind of like
yeah.
Wilbury-esque in a
Pre
way, because
pre Wilbury.
yeah, yeah, pre-Wilbury, that's a super group right there, right? Dave Edmunds is a capable singer, and he had some success, right? Obviously Ringo could have dropped a few songs, and then obviously you got Paul as well.
I,
So
I was
kind of.
fortunate to interview Mr. Spedding for my book, and he told me the funniest
Oh,
story. I
nice.
don't think I included it in the book, but he was working
Right,
with George and Ringo simultaneously,
right.
and he thought he had a session with George. So he drives out to Harrison's studio in Henley, and George comes to the door and goes, "Chris, what are you doing here?" He goes, "Well, we have a session." He goes, "No, I think you have the wrong Beatle." So he calls Ringo, and Ringo's like, "Chris, you're supposed to be at my studio." So Chris was like, "That's the wrong Beatle, Aaron. I don't know. I just got the
Mm,
Beatles confused."
right. Well, let's talk about that for a second then too, because you've got a lot of you were able to interview a bunch of people for your book.
Yeah.
Talk about that process, and trying what were you looking to get out? I mean, were you just more or less trying to figure out what it was like to work, those people who work with George, and then obviously their time with the Dark Horse label.
I just want to get no one there's not a lot of research done about that period in terms of people who worked with George and on the label and the bands. And I wanted to have
Right.
an understanding of how they saw, like talking to Jiva saying, well, what do you think went wrong? Why do you think the
Hmm.
songs didn't do as well as they should have? And I talked to Henry McCulloch's manager, Dave Goodman, and they were
Mm,
flummoxed. They thought this album was going to be huge. I mean, it got good reviews and it was going to be big. So I went to these people to kind of get an understanding. Alvin Taylor was one of the best people I
mm,
talked to. He worked on Stair Steps, Kenny Burke, and he did the drums on 33 and a third. And
mm,
his stories, I mean, I could have written a whole book just on his stories.
right.
So I just wanted to get a sense of, yeah, it was funny. I just want
Yeah.
to get a sense on what was it like. Like I didn't know, I could never figure out, Tom, why Extra Texture was
Mm,
recorded in LA because it's the only
mhm,
Harrison album he recorded there. And I discovered it was because they had booked the time for Splinter. Splinter couldn't get there to use it. Harrison didn't want to lose the time. So he said, okay, well,
time, right.
so
Mhm,
he recorded his album in LA while Splinter recorded their album with Tom Scott back at Henley.
mm,
And I thought, well, that's an interesting. I mean, it makes sense. And you go, oh, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. But I didn't know it. So just trying to figure out little mysteries here and there as to why did that happen and why was he being
mm,
sued by A&M and what was going on. So it was fun and quite frankly, most of the people were more than like well, everyone I talked to just were great to talk. Tom Scott, oh my gosh, the stories he told me were just legendary. Because of course, I'm talking to him. His dad, by the way, wrote the theme to
mm,
Dragnet, and
mhm.
so then he's talking about listen to what the man said, and he's talking about all that stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm talking to Tom Scott. But great stories about Harrison, about co-producing 33 and a third, so, and they all had the same thing. No one said anything like controversial. He was great to work. Alvin Taylor said, he'd say, George, what do you want me to drum with this? And George, well, you're the drummer. you know, you do what you think's best, Alvin. Like, so,
Right.
that was Harrison's attitude. Like, oh, I'm not the
Well,
drummer.
how
So,
about if I how about if I follow a lyric with a drum fill? How do you
yeah,
feel about that?
yeah. Ooh,
Ooh.
you go like Cracker Box. I go.
Yeah.
So it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
And I'm having
Right.
fun interviewing people now. So it's always,
Yeah.
that's to me, that's the fun part of writing a book. The
It
the hard
is.
part is
Yeah.
writing it, actually.
Right, right. Well, that's one of the fun things that I like about this doing this show is actually getting, we were able we have been able to talk to, quite a few people that have worked with Paul, Jerry Murata who did the drums on Press to Play, Dave Maddox who worked on Blood from a Clone and songs for Tug of War and Pipes of Peace. We got to talk to Denny Sywell, which was a lot of fun. Gabe Dixon, did a lot of the key work for Driving Rain. So, and we've got more coming up. So, I mean, that's those are the kind of shows that I like. You
Yeah.
get to hear about the musicians and their time working with our favorite musicians. So, and those are the stories I like. Nice to hear you both chat about Beatles.
I
That's,
I really enjoyed talking to
mm,
Andy Newmark because he toured
mm,
with Harrison, and he also worked on Double
mm,
Fantasy. So
mm,
it was like, okay, let's do Harrison, and then I'm going to just go into Double Fantasy. It was he was fascinating to
right,
talk to. So
right.
plus
Gotcha.
he also
Cool.
drummed on my favorite ABC album, Beauty Stab. So just saying.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Great. Well, this has been a fun chat.
Thank you for having me.
This is fun. Yeah, no, no. Thank you for coming on. But again, Dark Horse Records. You can get this Amazon? Where can you get it anywhere?
Everywhere, everywhere. Yep, it's
Yeah.
available everywhere. Amazon, Barnes and Noble,
Yeah.
wherever
I
fine
think I
every
got. Yeah.
bookstores. Yeah, they'll order it.
Yeah, I got Aaron to sign it for me when I saw him at the fest. He ruined the book. Now it's
I
not worth
know,
anything.
I know. You got to buy another one. Go buy another one, Tom.
Yeah,
There's one at Amazon that
sure.
has three.
Yes.
There's one that has three dots on the spine.
Damn you.
You have to find it. It's hard to find, but it's out there.
I'll get it, pal. I don't care how many copies I have to buy. Doc,
Thanks. Thank you,
Doc
Doc.
says, do another one of these. This was great. Thank you very
Thanks.
much, Doc. I really appreciate
Thank
that.
you. Thank you, everyone, for
Yeah,
their comments. I love it. Love it. Susan, everyone,
yes,
great. Tony,
yeah. Thank you, everybody,
Owen.
for your comments, and glad we were just able to talk about other things as well. This is it. I mean, I did do the first couple of these. Andy and I, we've been doing separate live streams, and I wanted to get used to doing this first before I started having guests on, and now that now that we've had you on, I'm going to start every week now. I'm going to try to have a new guest every week, and
I'll
this
be
was a lot of fun.
watching. I'll be watching.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. And Aaron, stick around when I sign off, and I'll talk to you for a second afterwards. But everybody out there, thank you. This has been a great 90 minutes hanging out with you guys,
Yeah, it's been fantastic.
and yeah, I love all of you guys, and thanks, and then appreciate the time.
I'll see you in
So we
Dublin,
will
Owen.
be,
See you in Dublin.
yeah. Yeah, well, we look for Andy. Well, no, Andy won't be doing a live stream this Sunday. I'll be back next Wednesday or Thursday with a new. Oh, you want me to bring Aaron? But look at that, Aaron. You
Aw,
got a
thank
fan
you,
in
Doc.
Doc.
Thanks, Doc.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
eh,
Anytime. I'll be here. Anytime.
yeah. Okay. Well, let's the midnight tonight. How about it? No. Just
I'll
kidding.
be up. I'll be watching the ball game, so I'll be up.
Okay, right. Do they do 3 games in a row, or are they taking a break?
No, they'll do three. They're playing. I think they're playing in 3 games in New York this week because I think
Well, I know
Garrett.
that, but are they doing them back to back to back, or were they taking a day off?
No, playing it. I
No?
think they're trying to
Okay.
get it done before the bad weather in New York moves in.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Well, all right. That's it. We'll talk
Thanks,
soon. Take
guys.
care,
Thank you for
everybody.
having me. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Yep. All right.